So the Civil War was a dud. Ducks winning 49-14. But the Apple Cup was not a dud.
No, it was not. It was a good game.
Hey, I really like that Washington State quarterback. He looks like Gardner Minshew to me.
Yeah, he's not he's not a good quarterback per se. He's the guy in college football that everyone loves.
Well, he's very Washington Statey.
He's very He's very
like
Washington
Gardner
State.
Minshew.
Yeah. You know, he doesn't necessarily throw a great ball. He just runs around.
He's dual threat.
He's trucking people. Yeah. And
Tough kid.
It becomes like kind of a little bit of a cult hero.
I like him.
Yeah.
What is it? Mateer?
Mateer.
Yeah. John Mateer.
Yes.
There's the name you need to know right there.
And it is he's the most Washington State kid that, you know, sticks around at the program, you know, doesn't transfer out, wins the job, and, you know, and leads them to a big Apple Cup win. And look, dude, people are getting so over their skis at Washington State. It's not a great team, but it's a great story. And Dickert loves those guys up there, and I feel so good for him. But now we're getting like the Washington State undefeated. Washington State, again, probably should have lost this game. They're going to be in a lot of games, but we need to slow the roll at this undefeated thing. But it's a great story right now, 3-0, and he is the definition of scrappy, like not the most talented kid that just plays his ass off. Bad pick, probably should have had another one. That's a big play that gets called back. I didn't think there was enough there to overturn that pick, but it was a difference in that game. And then Washington kind of s the bet at the end, and Washington State made a great goal line stand, and that'll go down as one of the great finishes in Apple Cup history. I mean, fourth and goal from the 1.5, and you get that stop there. I mean, that's stuff a legend.
Yeah, your golden boy, Jed Fish, kind of effed it up. Had to answer a bunch of questions today.
Well, I mean, first off, let's go with 16 penalties. Oh, my God, Washington. Like,
yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
Not very disciplined, were they?
No. And
135 yards.
Yeah, and then they kept doing the stupid quarterback shuffle thing, which I guess. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, why do they do that? I think Will Rogers is pretty damn good.
Yeah, he was great. He was moving the ball. When you look at stats, like if I told you that just the stat total there, I mean, Washington won the turnover battle, won most statistical categories. They just they couldn't get the ball into the end zone in the red zone, kept shooting themselves in the foot, and were just really kind of sloppy and undisciplined.
Well, why does Fish call an option?
Don't know.
With so fourth and, if you didn't see, 4th and 1,
mm-hmm.
4th and goal at the 1.
Yep.
Game on the line. This is it. One play.
Short side of the after a timeout, by the way. And
he runs on the short side of the field. He runs a quarterback option, and his quarterback doesn't run.
No. And here's the thing: if you're running speed option, right, and you've got your 4. And then technically, if you want to option the guy, then I guess you could run it into 5 men, right? You have your 4 blockers, and then you're going to option the guy on the end. I get it. I don't love that look, especially the short side of the field. By the way, you have a big bruising running back that's averaging like 5 yards a carry. But all right, let's say
what's that guy, like 250?
Yeah, like you say, you're even going to try to run that, but anytime you're running the option there, the key to the option is being able to seal the end man on the line of scrimmage, right? Because how does an option die? By stringing it out, right? Anytime you can string out an option play to where you make the quarterback keep it, the running back runs out of room. Already running into the short side of the field, you've already handicapped yourself. So they come out in like they come out where the tight end's the last guy on the line of scrimmage. There's no crack blocker. So basically, you have no guy to block down, pin, if you will, and seal the edge. You've got the defensive end for Washington State is lined up outside of your tight end. So already that tight end is going to have a mother bear sealing that edge. And then there's another guy outside of him. I could not draw up a worse look to run option with a non-running quarterback and a big bruising running back. If you said draw up your worst case scenario for a defense to run that into, you did that. You ran that out of a tight end or out of a timeout. You didn't motion anyone over to that formation to try to get a crackdown, to try to get a seal. You didn't audible into just like a straight power or a duo play. Where
Roger, can I pause you there?
Yeah.
Rogers, after the game, said that he did not have the option to check out of that.
Well, then that's on Jed Fish then too. That's not trusting your quarterback, because when you go back and look at that play, there is a gap between the tackle and the tight end of like 1.5 yards to 2 yards. You could have just, even if you told Will Rogers, hey, screw the option. You're going to take the ball and you're running quarterback dive right there. That's a touchdown. But they ran that thing to the outside. Like, it's beyond puzzling to me. And then you had the crappy penalties at the end. You could have forced them at least to do something uncomfortable and have to punt. Had you not burned a timeout, you could have gotten the ball back. But then you run the jackass undisciplined penalties that seal the game. I mean, it was a quagmire of disaster for Washington at the end of that game.
Help me with the fact that Rodgers is not given autonomy, because it's one thing if he's a freshman.
He's like a six-year quarterback.
Dude, he played all 4 years at Mississippi State, did he not?
Yeah, he's
his fifth year.
He's a fifth or a sixth-year guy.
Why does the coach not allow him to
I don't know. I just, other than it's a new system and maybe he just doesn't trust him in that check to check in the run game. But I mean,
that's really bad, dude.
If I'm a center and I line up at that, and I guess as a center in those run plays, you're not really making calls. So I mean, maybe that's a moot point. But I'll just say, if I was on the right side of the line of scrimmage and I looked up, boy, I guarantee you that every one of those O linemen from UW, from the center down to the tight end, looked at that formation and went, "Oh my God, this isn't." This isn't good. And look, again, give credit to Washington State for stringing that thing out, but that thing was doomed from the get-go.
That's how to be your own worst enemy right there.
Well, that, again, 16 penalties. I mean,
again, how to be your own
worst enemy. Yeah, it's and then afterwards, I didn't see that. For him to come out and say that he didn't have the authority to check out, and this is the other thing, if you're Washington, that's kind of an FU from the coach to the player and one back from the player to the coach, right? To come out and say, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I didn't have the option to check out of that. If you're Will Rogers, that's kind of a dig at Jed Fish. And I did see Jed Fish say it was about execution.
Wasn't Rogers went there to play for DeBoer, right? And then Fish convinced him to stay.
I think that was
because I think that
was the case.
I want to say we all thought Rodgers was out of there after DeBoer was.
Yes,
but
and
he stayed.
They stuck around. Yeah,
maybe there's some friction there.
Well, and he's playing the freshman in there, but I mean, I mean,
Jed Fish
to say, and this is the part that bothered me when Fish said it's about execution. Okay, I understand that, but if I'm putting my tight end and tackle in the worst situation, like that's like saying, hey, you're gonna go fight this guy, but you're gonna have to do it with one hand tied behind your back, and by the way, I don't know, like I'm gonna cut your foot off, and then you lose that fight, and you're like, you know what, you just didn't execute. Like, that's a really, really poor job of putting them in an appropriate situation. And when you have timeouts, I mean, I just to have that play coming out of a timeout, I would love, and again, I'm trying to be fair, I would love to sit in a meeting when they're watching tape, because I always say this, I'm not in meetings, I'm not in the film session, I don't know what the coaches are thinking, but I would love to sit down with Coach Fish and their offensive coordinator and just watch that film and say, what was the plan here? And if they were being honest, they would look at that and they would say, that's on us. We can't have that play. But then again, to have the dumb penalties that seal the game for you afterwards, I mean, that goes back to the penalties and the undisciplined nature. So, and maybe this is a year for UW where it's just like, hey, win 7-8 games and try to build, the program. And we weren't expected to do anything anyways, but that's a killer for that school. And for Washington State, good for you, because that's kick ass. I don't know where this season goes. This isn't a playoff team. I think that talk is foolish, but Washington State hopefully ends up finishing this thing off with a kick-ass year, goes to a cool bowl game, and they will have that trophy. And by the way, Dickert said they ain't giving that thing back. He said, we'll get a new trophy. That one's ours. He said, we're keeping that up in Pullman, did you hear him after the game?
No.
Yeah,
you know what? I was going to play that in Stock Watch, but I got something else, so we can listen to that right now.
Yeah, this is him after the game, and it just I love this. This is college football, what it should be.
Right, to bring that trophy back to Pullman. It's going to be in the third floor at the CFC if anybody wants to come out and see it. And I think we might retire this trophy. I think this is the Pac-12 trophy. I think that might stay in our place for a long time, and we'll bring a new one next year. A little Big Ten, Pac-12. We'll put the new score on it. So we might retire this one as the Pac-12 trophy and stay in Pullman.
All right.
And he was almost in tears on the field afterwards, and he
That's
said
fair.
that they were going to win this game because they loved each other, not because they hated the other guys. Like I said, I really, really, I want to root for Oregon State. I want to root for Washington State because of what happened to them. And I know it didn't go well for the Beavs, so I'm glad that the Cougs were able to get one on the Huskies, and that was a really cool moment.